Hi, Lily.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the opening talk, something that really resonated was the incongruency between the energetic and the understanding, and the experience of like not, the expanded awareness or whatever, and kind of going back and forth in between these two states. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But anyway, I've been noticing this last week, this kind of clarification of like I had ideas, like subconscious ideas about what I thought awakening was, or liberation, not awakening, but like liberation. And it's really interesting because it was kind of like not clear. Like I didn't know, like I just knew that I was suffering and I didn't want to suffer, but I didn't actually know what was causing the suffering, or why I didn't want to be in reality and things. But now it's like it's the resistance, like it's the contracted sense of self that's obviously the thing that has been causing the suffering. And the energetic that energetic sense of me, and that those resistance patterns to everything in life and wanting to control everything, like everything. And so this has been clarified, but it's not like clarified mentally or intellectually in a way that like I've been comfortable. I'm really comfortable in the intellectual, but it's being clarified by really uncomfortable experiences that are associated with feelings of resistance and discomfort. And one of the things like I didn't realize was like I want to feel good, right? I want to feel good. I want to have energy. I want to be kind of peppy and engaging with people at work and stuff like that, right? And so I had that experience a few times last week where it was almost like a hypomanic state. And I was like, I really like this feeling, but also it's really uncomfortable. And so I just kind of was given this like experience that like, this is what you think that liberation is going to be like. You really think that you're going to be in a good mood all the time, and you're going to be, so I was like, oh yeah, okay. And it wasn't comfortable. There's still a contracted sense of me. There's still resistance to things, and there's this uncomfortable elevated energy, almost like anxiety, but covered up with like a good feeling or something. And I was like, this isn't comfortable. And so anyway, it's being clarified that really the problem is the me and the contraction, and that's what is making the feeling of discomfort. So it just comes back to like, oh, this is it, and the reason why I don't want this to be it is because I'm uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable in this body because there's a belief that there's a me, and that this contraction is really uncomfortable, and it's continually going back to the same thing, and nothing is working to escape that. It's just there. And I'm noticing how much that the pattern of wanting to control shit, like everything. So it was really interesting before I got onto this the Zoom link. I purchased this sound meditation, and it was like $25, right? And so I went on to PayPal and I purchased it, and somehow like something went funky and it purchased like 3 times in a row, and so I was like charged like $75. And I got on my banking account because I didn't get a confirmation email, and I was like, what the hell? So I get on there and it showed these 3 withdrawals, and I was like, ugh, and this just the feeling right? Of like wanting to control and the discomfort with not having an outcome to that and wanting it to be a certain way. And what happened was like this other thing was revealed that like I'm putting all my time and energy and effort into this thing of liberation, whatever that is. And I want to know that there's an outcome. And so that's kind of I don't know, I just feel emotion with that. It's just like I'm really attached to an outcome. I don't want to feel like a me anymore. And I'm sure the me is the one saying that. And it's nonsensical. But at the same time, it's just like, it's just, even on a more and more like, okay, suffering is not as egregious, but it just seems more unbearable. Like I'm fighting against the resistance. And I'm trying to surrender into the unknown. But who is trying to do that? Mm-hmm. So anyway, that thing's happening, and I'm just kind of trying to relax into the discomfort that's always there. Mm. There's something there all the time, right? That contraction and yeah.
Yeah, that was actually beautifully described. It is really like this, you go on this sort of loop and then you see, okay, there's no way out from just simply what's arising here. But then you go on the loop again, and then, but it's all energy. It really is all patterning. And we're all conditioned to believe that there is a better state, a better way of appearing, a better feeling. And you're right that I also expected to be joyful and bouncing around all the time and beaming and peaceful, and I don't even know, yeah, something like that. But there's so many elements to this. Like the energy shifts so much and it just looks different constantly. And yeah, there was a part of me that really resigned every time. There was like hope. Like, is it done yet? Like, am I going to be happy now? And yeah, there was a deeper and deeper, like, yeah, I can't control how it's unfolding, what's happening, how many times it's going to go on the loop. And then to realize that it's just this. Because yeah, in a way that is the fighting that is not that obvious for most people, because they're able to just socialize or go to food or, you know, find pleasure in other things. But where you're at, it's like so obvious, the chaos underneath that, the resistance to what simply is. So it's gonna look messy and it's gonna be uncomfortable.
Yeah. What a treat. There's no escaping.
Yeah.
And you know, it's such a weird like positionality to be no one and someone at the same time. And like there was never an I to choose any of this. It just feels like that. Yeah, it's really weird. I went to this spa yesterday, and I'm sitting in the water, and it kind of helps the body feel weightless. So it's really like whatever tension, it's just like there and you know it. So it's just kind of like, it's easy to kind of relax my body there. And um but also it like the contractions like right in your face. And so it's can be very intense. And I'm sitting there just kind of like bobbing in there and um looking around and just like kind of integrating that lesson that I had last week about you actually don't know anything, you can't know anything, and it's everything that we do is we just place meaning and stories on everything. And I'm just kind of sitting there in that place of not knowing. And people are walking around and talking, and just the sense of not knowing is like really scary,
Mm.
you know? So I have this contraction, I'm just not knowing, like, I don't even know what this is, what I'm seeing, like, I don't know anything. And it's not just like an understanding, it's like literally that's looking around, that's how I'm experiencing reality. And it's really, uh, what's a word? Like, kind of throws you off the tracks, you know? Um, and yet you're still, your body's still doing things and you're still moving your head and looking around and like the things are still happening. There's just no meaning or story being placed onto it. It's really weird. It's like the mind can just create whatever reality it wants to and whatever story to play this human game, which is kind of cool, but it's also like very contradictory to all the conditioning in the body, where it's like, oh no, I want to know. I want to like have somewhere to stand here.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah. This
we're,
this in between is very confusing and uncomfortable because you're kind of seeing the non-reality and the absolute unknowing, that whatever story you put onto anything, it's not really real, but there is still a sense that wants comfort in that and finds comfort in that,
yeah.
finds some security. So, and that kind of also needs to play out, like allowed to be that way and do that. And then there's this thing that also can see that it's not really real, but it's just the patterning of the body that needs to run out, like the seeking.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what, I don't know, this is like my interpretation, but the clarification of all the things that I thought it would be simultaneously happening with these experiences of not knowing is kind of like, uh it's just a deeper clarification, like, uh, I don't know how to say it, but just like a integration for the body. Because I can imagine like my mind is like, oh yeah, I just want to be liberated right now, whatever that means. But the actual process of that, because it's so physical and energetic, like that would be terrible. That would be a terrible experience. That would be horrific. I don't know if I could function. And this process of like over a decade for me, that needed to happen.
mm,
I couldn't imagine jumping to where I'm at right now from where I was 10 years ago.
I
It,
know.
it'd be very destabilizing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So it's graceful, but it's also like not, you know, well,
Yeah. It is like, yeah, no matter how you go about it, it's gonna be disturbing and destabilizing in some way. And you are right. Like, if it happens all of a sudden, like, you can really see how destabilizing that would be, and too traumatic for the body, to handle all of that at once. So in a way, it's good that it does take time. But yeah, it's just uncomfortable. It's just not what's desired.
yeah. There's just so much fear, the body just holds so much fear of just like, always censoring ourselves or can't do this, or like past trauma, people are going to hurt me, or, I have to be perfect, or all these different patterns in the body. And it's just like, there's so much fear. It's just so much fear. And um, it's just really sad.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
That it's just like we carry so much fear, and it's really hard.
I know. This is like, in a way, it is sad that we can't just be ourselves, meaning the body's just not free to be as it is. And yeah, to deconstruct everything that was built, yeah, it's painful to see all of that, all of the different sort of masks, but also seeing the innocence of it and seeing like, yeah, I could totally understand why that's there. The need to be perfect, the need to appear a certain way, the need to, yeah, be loved.
Yeah. A hard road. Anyway, I'm gonna stop there, but yeah, just extending compassion to y'all. Being human's hard. It's a trip. Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a roller coaster. Eh?
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thanks so much for sharing. Hey, Tanya.
Hi. Hello.
Good
I'm
to
just having this every time I raise my hand, my body, just has this reaction, and the closer and closer it gets to my turn. Oh my gosh, it's just been so interesting to watch. Yeah, anyways, that's not my question. I had to like breathe myself through this. And everybody's shares have just been so beautiful today, and really relate in so many ways with everyone. And just seem weird how we're all so aligned in some ways. But my question actually is kind of almost similar to Ben. I thought Ben was going to ask it for me, but I feel that, and I don't know if you're going to remember, but you spoke one time about a moment where you felt that your mind kind of unhooked. Do you recall? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was the moment where I was just lying in bed, nauseous, kind of everywhere, but mainly in, I guess, in the stomach area. And then, yeah, there was just a very clear thought. And it was so clearly coming from nowhere. So there was no belief in it. It was just arising. So I could say that's when it seemed like something unlinked, or you can say something here that was attached to the mind, to the thought, that itself was dissolving or losing power. Because the energy here is the thing that's giving the mind power. It's not the mind necessarily. They feed off of each other. But once this energy dissolves, and these are in really simplistic terms, it's not really like that. But once this dissolves, the mind just has no power. So it can kind of say the same things and it's still annoying, but it doesn't have the same power.
Mm.
And there were, yeah, multiple moments where it felt like that happened, but it was from deep emotional releases, like deep dread or deep sorrow, deep, like, kind of feeling like I'm done with this. And then it became lighter over time, like the emotional processing. It was so dispersed now. Like, it wasn't like I was feeling it or processing it. It was like kind of a burst of energy. And it was more and more obvious that it was held by life, that it was life. Because usually what's happening is that the separate sense is experiencing everything. So you could see why it's a very vulnerable place to be. It's a lot, it can feel like a lot to handle. But when that separate sense is dissolving, it's disappearing into everything. So then it's everything feeling the sorrow. And that's much more, in a way, manageable, because who's the one really fearing that? Not that fear can't arise. That's very normal in any living organism. But you can no longer believe that it's yours.
You know, in your recent audios that you uploaded they're amazing, so good. And you had said something in the oceanic one right away where you said that something is witnessing and you don't know what's witnessing. And early on, you had alluded to that where you said someone's, you know, something is witnessing the process, and it's, you know, even though you still felt like a separate self, you also felt that witnessing in a sense. Do you, in reflection now, do you feel like that was a part of it too, besides the emotions? It was that maybe the sliver of separation of witnessing. I don't know how to say it more than that.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can describe so when this sense is here, it will overlay itself on everything. So if this witnessing is happening, it will subtly feel like I'm witnessing whatever's happening in the body and out there. And so when that sense seems to be dissolving, then the witnessing becomes neutral. Just like everything else, the thoughts become not mine, the emotions become not mine. So it cleanses itself from everything. And then this neutral witnessing that's just happening, it's everywhere and nowhere. It's obvious that it's not really coming specifically from this body. And it's not like, it's no longer the brain witnessing or a functioning that's happening only in the body. It's now kind of able to merge with some sort of I don't even know what to call it, but something, not something. It's just able to merge with everything. It's not, you can no longer say that the witnessing is coming from here and I can see that tree over there. It's like the witnessing and the tree is the same thing. The witnessing and the body is the same thing. The witnessing and the air is the same thing. There is no separation anywhere at all.
When you were still feeling when you were oscillating and that witnessing was there, it was different than it is obviously now for you.
The witnessing.
Yeah, because you were still oscillating in between the me. So there was moments of witnessing, not as great as you can see now, not you, but you know, but the witnessing was more of a sliver of opening, maybe the light coming into a door, maybe. And then it just got brighter and brighter, maybe.
the reason why this can't be imagined in any way is because it's really a disappearance of something. So the sense that the witnessing was really happening here, that's the only sense that dissolved. And then it's just becomes obvious that it was everywhere. So that's why it's a little bit difficult to imagine. But that was kind of happening, the oscillation between that. It wasn't quite as obvious as it is now, because it's like it's so obvious that you don't even need to do anything with it. It doesn't matter what the body's doing. If it's in a stressful state, it's still this. It's still obviously this very neutral witnessing. That's just how it seems. But yeah, it just took a long time to get to this. Yeah, I really do feel like the wave is a good description, because it's always been this vast ocean, but like the wave really veils that it is already the ocean. And the wave is experiencing and feeling and interpreting and knowing what everything is from its own perspective. And then when that perspective dissolves, everything merges together. Everything is non-separable.
That's beautiful. That says it all to me. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for the question, Tanya. I really don't know what I'm saying. So I'm just like really trying to describe like nonsense.